When my parents moved to Wimborne, one of the first landmarks I noticed was Canford Bridge. I'd see it every time we went from Dad's house into the little town, crossing the River Stour. It's quite a landmark, though you would have to be on the river itself to get the best view. There's a great deal of traffic in both directions, and for the benefit of pedestrians and cyclists, there's a footbridge alongside. The footbridge used to be mounted right up against the main bridge, but it caused a certain amount of wear and tear to the structure. And so a new footbridge was built in 2008, separated from the old bridge so that the contact was minimised. But I'd like to show you a little more of the river itself. Let's walk downstream a mile or two, and then we can work our way back towards Canford Bridge. As you can see, it's mostly meadows, grazing for cattle with just a few trees here and there. The white building you can see in the distance is Canford School. It's quite a landmark on our journey. And cutting across the landscape is the Wimborne bypass, the busy A31, with the outskirts of Wimborne just visible on the far side. Now we turn back to the footpath that leads us along the River Stour. What you can see in the foreground is just a drainage channel. The river itself is marked by the line of trees further away. Here we see the footpath running alongside the river and by the trees. And again, there is the school in the distance. We're going to move gradually up the river. It's a quiet scene for the most part, with just an occasional sign of activity. You may come across a swan in her nest. And here we get a closer look from just above the level of the river. But it would take too long to follow the river at this level of detail. So let's look a little higher and see the river stretching ahead of us, leading our eyes towards the school. The school was originally the mansion of the Guest family. That's the G in GKN, a large industrial company. The family was elevated to the peerage in 1880 under the title Baron Wimborne. But we don't want to intrude on the school itself, so let me take you back to the river. Here we see what I think may originally have been a mill pond. You can see a small weir on the left and a larger one coming into view on the right. This leads us through to the upper part of the river. The river opens up a little to the right, giving us a glimpse of the footpath and field. But then the trees close in around us once again. And just as we come through the trees, we see ahead one of the most memorable features of this area. It's a tiny suspension bridge, just for foot passengers. At first you can see only the base and the handrails, along with its reflection in the still, smooth water. As we get closer, you can see the thin metal cables that support the weight of the bridge, while the concrete towers that anchor the bridge are concealed in the trees on either side. And as we continue up the river, we can see the landing platforms of the boathouses belonging to the school. Later in the day, you can often see young people in racing boats, usually pairs or sculls. But this early in the day, during the summer holidays, the boathouses are still and silent. Now we come to the longest open stretch that we'll see today. Here we have a well-marked footpath, popular with runners and walkers. Through the trees ahead we now catch a glimpse of the occasional car or lorry. As we approach the bridge, where the A31 crosses the river. And around the bend of the river, we start to see the bridge itself. Here I decided it was time to be a little daring, as I took my camera drone through the main arch of the bridge. And on the other side we are joined by an early morning canoeist. here he is again, on his way back. Just ahead through the trees we catch a glimpse of the riverside houses built quite recently. There's an attractive grassy area and footpath just here. With occasional benches and boards telling you what wildlife you might hope to see on the river. And now we get our first sight of our goal, Canford Bridge, ahead of us. To our right there is the landing stage for dreamboats, who hire out rowing boats during the summer months. But getting back to the bridge, we can see the broader spans crossing the river itself. And to the left, a series of smaller spans crossing the water meadows that protect against flooding. Now we're nearly at the end of our journey. We pause to look at the bridge. And to look past it to the land stretching beyond. We can follow the river a short distance further. On our left we see a cluster of houses and their riverside gardens. This is nearly as far as we can travel today, as the access points to the river are very limited from here on. So we say farewell to the Stour, looking ahead towards the stretches that we might possibly be able to explore some other day.